I am Professor Arbind Kumar from School of Education, IGNOU, New Delhi. I will be talking about John Dewey, the educational philosopher. In this video, we will discuss 3 points mainly. First, we will try to recapitulate the relationship between education and philosophy. Then I will discuss on educational thoughts of John Dewey. And while discussing John Dewey, I'll analyze and reflect on the concept and educational thoughts of John Dewey. We, in the last video, came to know that philosophy is love for knowledge and wisdom. And in this sense, wisdom is not confined to knowledge only, but the value and the reality as well. And we also discussed as a discipline, what are the things that we study in philosophy? And we came to the conclusion that in philosophy, we study epistemology, ontology, axiology, metaphysics, socio-political philosophy, etc., etc. Now, in this sense, what is philosophy of education? Philosophy of education means, according to the branches of philosophy, epistemology of education, ontology of education, axiology of education, metaphysics of education, issues in ethics and socio-political philosophy and educational discourses. Now, the point is that what is it that education does or education centrally involves itself? You will agree that education centrally involves the fostering of reason or rationality. This is the old understanding. No? Lately, we understand that education also involves the fostering of emotion or emotionality, right? And lately, many thinkers, many educationists are emphasizing on the relational rationality aspects of education as well. When we were talking about Adams in the last video, we quoted him by saying that education is the dynamic side of philosophy and it is the active aspects of philosophical belief. And that's why both philosophy and education are integrally and interdependently related to each other. And you must have seen that the many philosophers wrote extensively on the topic of education. Why? Why mainly philosophers have written so extensively on education? What is so unique about philosophy? What is there in philosophy which can give to education which other disciplines can't? There are many things that can be cited here, but I'll take only one thing, and that is thinking process. How to know how to think? If suppose somebody asks you, what is education? What do? When you start reflecting on what is education, the very first tool that you need is thinking through mind. And you all know philosophy is the thinking process of life, and education is functional part to materialize that thinking process. So philosophy is not only a professional tool for the educator, but also a way of improving the quality of life, because it helps us to gain a wider and deeper perspective on human existence and the world around us. For example, as a teacher, whatever I do, why do I do that? Can I do it differently? So friends, as far as the philosophy of education is concerned, I would like to state here that philosophy of education is the branch of applied or practical philosophy concerned with the nature, or of education and aims of education, and the philosophical problems arising from educational theory and educational practices. Many things practically you do, but you find, oh, that's not fetching desired result. So what do? You start reflecting on that from theoretical point of view. Is there something that cannot be actually translated from theory to practice? So to my understanding, as far as relationship between philosophy and education is concerned, I'll not say philosophy determines, I'll say philosophy guides the aims and objectives of education. Philosophy helps the education planners to identify and use various aspects of education, like what should be the goal of education? What should be the content and intent of the curriculum at a particular stage? Which method will be the suitable method of teaching? What kind of principles of teaching I should adopt when I decide to teach a particular content or particular concept? Curriculum, the role of teachers and learners as well. So friends, it is not always philosophy but education which also provides fodder to philosophy to think and ponder over it. For example, if philosophy says a man should be educated, while talking about Plato I said it, then the question, simple question arises, why man should be educated? And if man has to be educated, what should form the content of that education? So, in all this, the philosopher of education prizes conceptual clarity, argumentative rigor, the fair-minded consideration of the interest of all involved in or affected by educational efforts and arrangements, an informed and well-reasoned valuation of educational aims and interventions. So, philosophy to a great extent will provide you the tool of logic and reasoning to conceptualize things with subtle clarity, crystal clarity. And once that clarity is there and that has been formed in your mind, you can help others to develop the understanding of that concept. As we discussed in the earlier video, that education centrally involves the fostering of reason or rationality, emotion or emotionality, and more importantly, relational rationality, because human beings are relational beings, then don't you think that the domain of education appears as very, very vast? The issue it raises are almost overwhelmingly numerous and are of great complexity, and the social significance of the field is second to none. And that's why in all times and climes, almost all civilizations have given utmost importance to phenomenon of education. And friends, these features make the phenomena and problems of education of great interest to a wide range of socially concerned intellectuals who bring with them their own favored conceptual frameworks, concepts, theories, and ideologies, methods of analysis and argumentation, metaphysical and other assumptions, and the like. And here comes the need and importance of philosophy and philosophy of education. As a mathematics teacher, many times you will find that what we are studying, they are contradictory to each other. And what do? You apply your logic to come out of the contradictory webs of mathematical ideas. And after understanding that concept, you become a constructor of new knowledge in the domain of mathematics. Friends, keeping all these in mind, I'm going to talk about a person who is known as John Dewey, who was a great philosopher, great educationist, and more importantly, great thinker of the modern age. He is the one, I think, who has written extensively in philosophy and education both. Who has written almost 40 books, who published almost 700 articles in more than 150 journals. Now the question is, what is his concept of education? And what is the foundation of his concept of education? John Dewey's concept on education is based upon the philosophy of pragmatism. Dewey believed that knowledge is the resultant of action, and according to him, as far as the reality of the world is concerned, he very clearly has stated in his different writings that change is the reality of the world. And taking a clue from pragmatism, he has defined education by saying this, that education is the continuous reconstruction of experiences. And that's why, friends, when some of the teacher educators who say that pragmatism advocates there is no reality beyond its practicability, that's half truth, not full truth of pragmatist philosophy. Experience is the essence of pragmatism, and that's why for him education is the continuous reconstruction of experiences. As I said, he has written more than 40 books, but some of the books, if you get time, please do read. For example, Experience and Education, Democracy and Education, and many more. According to John Dewey, what is truth? Truth is an instrument used by human beings to solve their problems. Truth is not a kind of abstract reality which cannot be practiced. And that's why defining truth, John Dewey says, truth is an instrument used by human beings to solve their problems. And since problems change, truth changes. And therefore, there can be no eternal reality or ultimate reality. According to Dewey, change is the basic theory of education. And that's why facts vary from person to person. Therefore, a person develops theory on the basis of what? A person develops theory on the basis of consequence of actions and experimentations. And that's why I would like to state that the main aim of education, according to John Dewey, is to make child capable of solving problems of life with his or her experiences. And that's why he has so brilliantly stated somewhere in his writings, if you want your children to become thinking children, then you must provide problems to him or her so that naturally he or she tends to think. And therefore, the aim of education should be to make human life not only to become capable of solving the problems of life, but also to make human life prosperous and happy. Because once your problem is solved, you become happy. And that's why he is considered as pragmatist thinker. That after solving problem, if some change doesn't take place in my life, or my life has not improved, or I am not at ease in my life, what is use of solving that problem? Or what is use of making oneself capable of solving problem? And in all these things, the thing that matter the most is the essence of experience. Dewey considers experience as the central concept of education. So whatever you do as a teacher inside the classroom or outside the classroom, particularly when you are with your students, do try to provide a unique experience or authentic experience to the students. Why? Because the students learn through experiences. There are numerous examples you might have seen in your life how child learns from his or her own experience. For example, whether he or she should touch fire or not. Dewey says that the problem solving and applying reflective or critical inquiry to solve the problem should form the fundamental aim of education. And that's why he considers knowledge gains through inquiry, reflective thinking, experimentation, and fact finding. So all these are methods through which a student gains knowledge. So don't you think that you should provide a situation to your students where he or she is naturally tending to inquire, to reflect, to experiment, and to find his or her own facts of life? Somebody asked John Dewey, why do you emphasize so much on inquiry? What is the purpose of inquiry? And the simple answer to this question is, the purpose of inquiry is to inquire more. And friends, in all civilizations, in all times and climes, people have given importance to the ultimate truth or ultimate truth of knowledge. No? But for Dewey, there is no ultimate truth of knowledge. More and more scientific inquiry gives birth to new knowledge. And for all these things, time and again, he has advocated for change. And that's why he says change is necessary for individual and social developments. Therefore, education system, methods, etc., should be changed as per the need of the times. And very brilliantly, he has stated, education is for child. The child is not for education. As I advocate, everything is for me and my development. So education is for me, I am not for education. Is that kind of education possible? As a teacher, we all need to think. And once there is a clarity in our thinking, even an iota of that we implement, definitely change will take place. Friends, now let us talk about the concept of democratic society from Dewey's perspective. Democratic society should be established on the basis of what? Should democratic society be established on the basis of political system or electoral system or the system of governance or the system of economy or anything? No. Dewey says democratic society should be established on the basis of education, and therefore in an ideal society there should be development of social and communal feelings, humans as a community, awareness of duties and rights, and more importantly mutual cooperation. By this time you must have understood that one of his major contributions is relativism. He believes in relativism as nothing is absolute. Rather, it is a relative as there is always scope for change. So, relative reality is the reality which should matter the most in anybody's life in general and teacher's life in particular. The knowledge that you are teaching today, not necessarily tomorrow that knowledge will remain a valid knowledge. There are numerous examples which can be cited in favor of this argument. John Dewey believes in, along with pragmatism, in instrumentalism as well. And he believes in instrumentalism as the objects are the existence to make the work done. And that's why he says, to materialize ideas, we need tools, we need instruments. So in view of all these discussions, John Dewey can be regarded as a pragmatist, instrumentalist when he is talking about communal feeling as human beings. You can call him a humanist. When he says that nothing is absolute, you can call him a relativist. And when he says that you gain knowledge through experimentation, you can call him experimentalist. And one should be ready to face the consequence of one's action. You can also call him the consequentialist. Now, I'll be talking about, on the basis of this, that what kind of ideas we can infer for curriculum and methods of teaching. As I mentioned, Dewey suggested that the curriculum should be determined by child's instincts and abilities. The need, abilities and interest of the child needs to be emphasized in the curriculum. For example, maybe at the higher level, I am less interested in mathematical contents. I may be interested in history of mathematical knowledge, or the genesis and generation and construction of mathematical knowledge. Don't you think those things should be incorporated in the syllabus? He advocated that the curriculum should be child-centered, or you can call it student-centered. He believed that curriculum should include social issues as the child is a part of society, and ultimately the product of education should work for the development of the society. And that's why he has stated 4 principles of formation of the curriculum. What are those? The 4 principles are utility, number 1, flexibility, number 2, experimental, number 3, and related to life, number 4. It should not only be utility oriented, it should not only be flexible, it should not only be experimental, it should be related to the life of the student and the child. Something which is not related to the student and child, it's a very obvious the child will not develop any interest in that. So the principles clarify that curriculum should be the utility of the child. It can be changed as and when there is the need, provides ample scopes to the child to gather experiences, and every activity in the curriculum should be suitably linked with the life of the child. And that's why Dewey emphasized on making the curriculum integrated in approach and using methods like learning by doing, field visit, project, problem solving, inquiry, and problem-based learning, experimentation, observation, critical analysis, debate and discussions in the teaching learning process. Now, few minutes I'll devote on impact on modern education. We are very clear now that John Dewey's concept of education is based upon the philosophy of pragmatism. So what's this impact on modern education? Dewey believed that knowledge is a resultant of action. So more the action, more the knowledge. And the second powerful impact that is there on modern education is his concept of reality, where he stated that change is the reality of the world. And while defining education, he very clearly stated that education is the continuous reconstruction of experiences. And that's why it can be said that John Dewey's philosophy of education has a great impact on the present education system. Present education process emphasizes on creating or constructs knowledge through experiences of the child. So, the essence is education process must have provision for the construction of knowledge. The child has every ability to construct his or her own knowledge. Now, the question is, what is the role of teacher? Teacher must help the child to construct his knowledge or her knowledge by using the experiences gained by the learner from his or her interaction with the environment, his or her interaction with the family, his or her interaction with the peers, his or her interaction with the society, playmates, etc. And thus you can say that the John Dewey's concept of education has contributed a lot to Vygotsky's constructivist approach of learning. And therefore, I would like to state that Dewey should be viewed as unorthodox realist with respect to both general metaphysical debates about realism and with respect to debates about human knowledge and knowing. And we all are concerned with the phenomenon of knowledge and knowing. Dewey's epistemology, Dewey's metaphysics, and Dewey's logic have opened a new door for all those who are committed to understand the problem of knowledge and knowing in holistic, realistic perspective. So the goal of Dewey's philosophy as education is to release the human potential for growth. Growth through what? Growth through freedom, growth through creativity and dialogues. And therefore, for him, the all-inclusive ideal, the greatest good. Now, I would like to end this discussion by two famous quotations of John Dewey related to education. He has very emphatically stated that education is not preparation for life, education is a life itself. Therefore, education is a process of living and not a preparation for future living. Friends, I end my discussion by thanking you for your patience listening and patience watching. Thanks again.